Hey guys, what's going on? SpyroKid here, and today we are playing Legend Dragoon Endurance Mode 2 Part 4. How are all of you today? I'm doing pretty good. We'll get to Legend Dragoon in just a moment, but first here are today's top stories from Reuters TV. And it's going to be extended to 10 minutes because I have food and I must eat that. Oh fuck, the music didn't go off, didn't it? No one reminds me of these things. Just give me a sec here. Legend Dragoon in just a moment, but first here are today's sec here. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, let's try this again, please.
Dream that I could fly. I can feel each moment as time goes by. We'd never be too far away. You would always be here, I heard you say. I never thought that
Hey guys, what's up? SpyroKid here, and today we are playing the Legend Dragoon Endurance Mode 2 Part 4. How are all of you today? I'm doing pretty good. We'll start Legend Dragoon in just a moment, but first here are today's top stories from Reuters TV, extended to 10 minutes, just because I have to eat some food. Basically the only reason.
You're watching Reuters TV. Here are your top stories.
The detained Belarus blogger appears in a video as the country is hit with sanctions.
3 generations of racial justice activists with a single message.
We're still gonna be out here.
The Iraqi who turned his home into a museum.
This is Reuters Now.
The dissident journalist from Belarus, detained by authorities after his Ryanair flight was intercepted by a Soviet-era fighter jet and forced to land in Minsk, claimed in a video posted online Monday that he was in good health and that he had helped organize mass protests against the Belarusian government. Roman Protasevich, wearing a dark sweatshirt with his hands tightly clasped in front of him, said he was in a pretrial detention facility in Minsk and denied reports on social media that he was having heart problems.
I can state that I don't have any health issues, including heart or any other organs diseases. Police officers treat me properly and according to the law. Also, I now continue to cooperate with the investigation and confessed to organizing mass protests in Minsk.
But his allies are not buying it, including a leader of the Belarusian opposition who wrote on Twitter, quote, "This is how Roman looks under physical and moral pressure. I demand the immediate release of Roman and all political prisoners." Protasevich and 23-year-old Sofia Sapega, a student traveling with him, were on a Ryanair flight from Greece to Lithuania when Belarus authorities scrambled a fighter jet and forced it to land in Minsk, taking the two into custody.
There will be a very strong answer, because it is an outrageous behavior.
European Union leaders meeting in Brussels called for Belarusian airlines to be banned from the 27-nation bloc's airspace and urged EU-based carriers to avoid flying over the former Soviet republic.
This was a shocking act.
In Washington, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki called the act a, quote, brazen affront to international peace and said the U.S. demands an international probe. The EU and the U.S. imposed several rounds of financial sanctions against Minsk last year, which had no effect on the behavior of authoritarian President Alexander Lukashenko, who withstood mass demonstrations against his rule after a disputed election. Lukashenko denies election fraud. Since the disputed vote, authorities rounded up thousands of his opponents, with all major opposition figures now in jail or exile. Belarus says it acted in response to a false bomb threat from the Palestinian militant group Hamas. A Hamas spokesman denied his group had any knowledge or connection to the matter. When the Ryanair plane finally landed in Lithuania, authorities there said 5 passengers never arrived, suggesting 3 others may also still be in Minsk.
The death of George Floyd at the hands of police a year ago this week touched off a nationwide summer of protests calling for justice. Demonstrators marching through Boston last June crossed in front of the home of Betty and Robert Freeman, who came out, stood on their steps, and raised a fist in salute.
The old 1960 Black Power sign. Salute.
On the cusp of another summer, Reuters revisited those swept up in the movement 1 year after George Floyd was pinned beneath an officer's knee for nearly 9 minutes.
I'm seeing some tremendous young leaders out there. I hope that they keep at it.
2 days after the Freemans stood on their stoop in Boston, demonstrators in Denver, Colorado laid down and blocked a highway.
Thank you, RDN Alex, for subscribing. Much appreciated on YouTube.
With a bullhorn was 16-year-old Bethel Boateng.
In that moment, I felt like very powerful.
She recently told Reuters that she wants to start an activist club at her high school to address racial inequality and police reform.
It was a hard time period for people of color, and they just kept fighting, and I just feel like that's what we just need to keep doing.
In the U.S. Capitol last August, activists descended on the Washington Monument to rally for justice. Among them was Aaron Xavier Wilson. With a black marker and a piece of cardboard, he stood there with the message, "I am a man."
I decided to choose this particular sign because it was the same words that were on signs when my grandfather was protesting for civil rights.
The 32-year-old international relations expert who works for a non-profit organization said he was thinking of that history when he crafted his placard.
There's a lot that hasn't changed, and we have a lot still left to go, then we're still going to be out here.
Back in Boston, 71-year-old Betty Freeman is sure there's more struggle ahead, but she's ready for it.
They just have to keep at it. We can't sit back and think that, it's going to solve itself.
So true. Fortunately.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken kicked off his Middle East visit on Tuesday. First stop on the list was Israel. He hopes to bolster a ceasefire reached after the heaviest Israeli-Palestinian fighting in years. Blinken's agenda included talks with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a meeting with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah later on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Israeli authorities said they were allowing fuel, medicine and food earmarked for Gaza's private sector to enter the territory for the first time since 11 days of cross-border hostilities started on May 10th. Blinken was also due to visit the city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, as well as Cairo and Jordan's capital, Amman. A US State Department official said the focus was on maintaining the ceasefire and suggested that it was too soon to discuss wider peace talks. US President Joe Biden has said a two-state solution was the only answer to resolving the Israel-Palestinian conflict and pledged a major package with other countries to help rebuild Gaza. In the recent fighting, at least 253 people were killed in Gaza and nearly 2,000 wounded. That's according to health authorities. The Israeli military put the death toll in Israel at 13 and hundreds treated for injuries.
Home prices just keep rising across the U.S. The S&P Case-Shiller Index of Home Prices in 20 metropolitan areas released Tuesday rose more than 13% on a yearly basis in March. That's the biggest annual price increase in more than 7 years, and it was higher than economists had expected. And it's an acceleration from the 12% recorded in February. Price increases were steepest in Phoenix, Arizona, up 20% over last year. San Diego, California, and Seattle, Washington followed closely behind. An acute shortage of homes for sale, coupled with strong demand for bigger accommodations as people work and study from home, have driven prices to a record high. But that tight supply is threatening to slow the housing momentum. On Tuesday, the Commerce Department reported that new home sales dropped 5.9% last month. Economists do not believe another housing bubble is developing. They note that a mismatch between supply and demand is behind the surge, not poor lending practices that triggered the financial crisis in 2008.
Fakhri Al-Tayi and his family lived among some 5,000 antiques in Mosul. His home has now turned into a public makeshift museum, aiming to preserve the city's heritage after many artifacts were destroyed during the war against the Islamic State in Iraq.
After the liberation of Mosul, I came back to my city, which is old Mosul. I saw our heritage and civilization completely destroyed. I saw that they deliberately destroyed this heritage, and I got the idea to collect what I can from our heritage and to revive what they wanted to destroy. Revive it for the city.
His collection includes different pieces from a variety of ethnicities and religions. Kurds, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and Turkmens have all made their marks in this small museum. Visitor Amjad Salah has lost over 10,000 pictures of his family in the conflict-torn Mosul, but he was able to find antiques that he grew up with in Al-Tayi's home, and they reminded him of his life in the 1960s and the 70s. Al-Tayi has spent $33,000 to fuel his passion. He also accepts antiques from people who donate them to the museum.
You're up to date. Check back later as stories develop.
Alright, that was today's headlines from Reuters. Let's get into Legend of Dragoon. Alright, where we were last time... Excuse me, the milkshake. We're having trouble with the Hoax Deluge. We weren't able to get past Cinder Elite, so that definitely means that we must grind up. Turn on FPS there.
Rashad 032. Let's go.
Hey Rashad, how are ya? Welcome to the stream. What are you up to? Nice to get my playlist working.
Rashad 032. Oh, how is the screen flickering going?
Screen flickering. Oh, that was from last time, right? I think it was just an issue for the computer being on too long, maybe. And for the game not to crash, I mean, for the streamer software not to crash, I decided to keep the zoom thing like this from now on, unfortunately. It's the only way I can make it not crash, because it appears that every time it detects a hotkey being pressed, it seems to glitch if it's doing it too much. I don't know why, so I have to keep it like this. Oh, that's stupid. I don't know what that was. That was like a lot of damage there. Oh, maybe I didn't equip anything from Rue. Whoops. What could it be? Still getting the frozen screen for some reason. Gonna restart the mod again. It's showing the enemy names on the stats, and it usually means that's gonna glitch into a battle. Let's leave the battle rose off for now. comes the bird. One more. Yes, we got it. Nice. $300 gold. Nice. Are you doing this? Let me save. I just want to see what happens. Oh, it didn't crash. Alright. I'm gonna restart my streaming software in just a moment. See if that'll fix the freeze. Okay, I'll be right back, see if this fixes it.